Lakeside is perhaps the most appropriately named motor racing circuit in Australia. Simple because it was built on the side of a lake. However, 2 weeks ago when the big wet arrived, most teams, the landowners and even the promoters thought the original concept and placement of the pavement here was dumb. When the rain commenced bucketing down, the locals thought it was a passing shower. 7 days later, it was still passing. The adjoining lake spilled over and the track was up to a metre underwater. The local wildlife even came visiting during the break from practice, while Seven's unsung heroes, our outside broadcast team, even had time to indulge in some water sports. Competitors in this year's Shell Australian Touring Car Championship breathed a sigh of relief yesterday when near-perfect weather greeted them for Lakeside Take 2 and the pursuit of the PARKROYAL pole. Port Macquarie's Andrew Miedecke had set the pace in Friday's unofficial practice and was well pleased with his efforts. Expect the unexpected has been a familiar catch cry at Lakeside Raceway for nearly a quarter of a century. The bumpy blacktop surface had caught out a few drivers this weekend, but none more savagely than Sydney privateer Terry Finnagan, who escaped this Commodore inferno with only a headache. There was little Finnagan could do after the car went out of control and slammed into a tyre wall.
Going through the kink on the main straight, I ran a bit wide, dropped a couple of wheels off the edge and spun the car and backed it into the bank fairly abruptly.
You had more heat than you could handle?
Yeah, the car caught on fire and I couldn't open the door to get out, so I dived out the window and the grass was on fire that I dived out into, so I just kept rolling until I was out of the flames.
It's a well-known fact Dick Johnson loves to save his best for Lakeside. The Demon from Daisy Hill therefore delivered as expected yesterday with a new one-lap track record of 54.06 seconds, proving Fridays are for fun, but the serious stuff starts on Saturday.
Well, certainly everyone has got quicker over the last 6 months, and Lakeside, being the type of circuit it is, really brings all the cars closer together, and it's always been a good race here, and I don't think today is going to be any exception at all.
The huge time and performance gap Johnson enjoyed over his rivals last year has all but disappeared. Yesterday he landed pole by a mere 12/100ths of a second over Peter Brock in the Mobile Sierra. Brock had one anxious moment though when his teammate Brad Jones had a lose in the second car. He recovered from that skirmish only to rub fenders with the boss.
As we said to Mobile, well, we're either out there to be competitive or you start looking at your involvement. And they said, well, let's get out there, just go for it. And that's what we're doing in 89. And it's early days yet, but we're making our presence felt.
Third fastest in the PARKROYAL pole sprint was Nissan's new jock Jim Richards, 5/100ths slower than the front row Sierras, but still a force to be reckoned with today. And make no mistake, Gentleman Jim won't subscribe to today's event being an automatic hometown victory for Dick Johnson.
Well, our car is it's suited well to Lakeside because it's handling very, very well. It's got just the right amount of horsepower for the circuit. We can drive the car very, very hard. It'll do good times on race tyres, which that's what we really came up here to do, set the car up for a race setup. But I must admit it surprised us in qualifying. It's going extremely good.
Less than a second separates the top 9 cars on today's championship grid. Local Tony Longhurst shares row 2 with Richards, while the third line will be split by the Sierras of John Bow and Andrew Miedecke, with row 4 shared between George Fury and Glenn Seaton, just a whisker clear of Greg Hansford in the ANZ Sierra. Once again, the Southern Pacific Hotel Corporation, including the magnificent PARKROYAL Brisbane, are supporting the championship series. With 3 PARKROYAL pole spots already decided, a certain Queenslander has taken the lead and may be bound for a holiday in Cairns at season's end.
The PARKROYAL prize is fantastic because I've had the luxury of having one already, and that's maybe why I'm trying so hard, is so I can get the one this year.
You enjoyed the trip to Cairns last year?
Mate, Cairns is a fabulous place, naturally because it's in Queensland.
I know the winner this year gets to go to Tasmania. So pole position today to Dick Johnson and the Shell Team Sierra. Lakeside, though, is quickly becoming his bogey track, and a win here today will break a 7-year drought. So maybe we shouldn't have used that word drought.